don't want to ever see you at the gala tonight. You irritate me.
Babe, who's that woman?
That's my wife.
Husband, ashamed of contract wife for being a tomboy, takes mistress to a party. Wife shows up in white. Esteemed viewers, welcome to Luxurious True Life Stories. Please like and subscribe for more captivating luxury true stories. Let's get into the story. Natasha Benson woke before sunrise, not because she loved mornings, but because machines were quieter at that hour. Her loft apartment overlooked a grey river and a silent bridge, and the only sound inside was the soft ticking of cooling metal. Half-assembled engines lay across her workbench beside scattered tools, oil stains marking her hardwood floor like permanent tattoos. Her wardrobe was simple: boots, dark jeans, loose shirt, leather jackets. Not a single dress. Not one heel. She preferred grease to perfume and silence to small talk. At the innovation firm where she worked as a mechanical designer, people respected her skill but never understood her. Interns whispered that she dressed like a racer, not an engineer. Executives greeted her cautiously, unsure how to behave around a woman who never tried to impress them. Natasha never reacted. She spoke only when necessary, fixed problems faster than entire teams, and left meetings the moment discussions became political. She had one rule: usefulness mattered more than appearance. Her parents called that evening. Her mother complained again about marriage, femininity, and reputation. Natasha listened quietly, eyes resting on the motorcycle she had rebuilt from scrap parts. She didn't argue anymore. Some people chased approval. She chased control over her own life. Romance, expectations, and social approval all felt like cages to her. She ended the call gently, tightened a bolt on the engine, and let the metal hum to life, the only thing that never tried to change her. Collins Friedrich's mornings began with mirrors. Not vanity, but calculation. Every tie, cufflink, and crease had purpose because reputation was his currency. His apartment stood 30 floors above the city, spotless and silent, arranged like a showroom rather than a home. He studied financial reports while his assistant recited the day's meetings through an earpiece. Investors trusted confidence, and confidence required presentation. Collins had built his career on controlling what people saw. His parents reinforced it constantly. His father, a retired banker, believed his success meant admiration. His mother believed admiration required perfection. At dinner they discussed alliances, appearances, and suitable partners, never emotions. Recently, their concern focused on one issue: he remained unmarried. For a man moving into elite circles, a wife was not companionship but stability, proof of maturity. Collins didn't argue. He simply calculated the social cost of remaining single. But beneath the polished routine, his company struggled quietly. A major project lacked technical reliability, and competitors were catching up. Investors still smiled, unaware of the risk hidden beneath confident presentations. Collins knew he needed credibility quickly, something respectable, stable, reassuring. As he stared at the skyline through the glass wall of his office, he realized reputation could no longer rely on business alone. He needed a partner who strengthened his image, not his emotions. The networking dinner was hosted in a private rooftop restaurant reserved for investors and executives who spoke in numbers instead of opinions. Natasha attended only because her firm required a technical representative, and she stood near the balcony rail, ignoring conversations about fashion and influence. She watched the city lights instead, hands in her jacket pockets, leaving untouched glasses of sparkling drinks on the tray beside her. She planned to leave early the moment introductions were finished. Collins noticed her because she didn't try to be noticed. Every guest performed confidence, yet she treated the room like background noise. When an investor accidentally mentioned a structural flaw in a new transit design, Natasha corrected the calculation calmly without even turning around. The table went silent. Collins studied her, competence without performance. Later, he approached, introducing himself with practiced politeness. She responded briefly, already prepared to end the conversation, but he asked one unusual question, whether she valued independence more than comfort. She paused for the first time. They moved to a quieter corner. Collins explained his situation carefully: social pressure, public expectations, and the advantages of appearing stable. He proposed a 1-year contract marriage, separate lives, mutual respect, financial compensation, and professional connections that could fund her future company. Natasha listened without interruption. It wasn't romantic, but it was honest. After a long silence, she asked for clear rules, written conditions, and absolute freedom. Collins agreed immediately. They shook hands, not his lovers, but his two people solving different problems with the same decision. The apartment chosen for the marriage was neither hers nor his. It was a neutral penthouse arranged by Collins' legal team, furnished perfectly yet lacking personality, like a model home waiting for real people who never arrived. Natasha moved in with 2 duffel bags, a toolbox, and a helmet. Collins arrived with tailored suits and organized files. They agreed on boundaries the first hour: separate rooms, separate routines, shared public appearances only when necessary. Their mornings never overlapped. Natasha left early for the workshop, often returning late carrying metal parts wrapped in cloth. Collins worked late evenings reviewing projections and investor calls. The kitchen remained unused except for coffee. When they crossed paths, conversations were short and functional: schedules, events, responsibilities. There were no arguments, because neither expected intimacy. It was efficient, predictable, and strangely comfortable. Yet the difference in lifestyle quietly showed. One night Collins returned to find a disassembled motorcycle engine placed carefully on protective sheets across the living room floor. Natasha was adjusting valves with focused precision. He stared at the mechanical pieces occupying the luxury marble space. She noticed and calmly said she would clean everything before morning. He said nothing. For the first time, the apartment felt inhabited, not elegant, but real, and he couldn't decide whether that was a problem. Public appearances began a week later. Collins arranged a small corporate dinner and suggested a stylist could help Natasha fit expectations. She declined politely. He tried again, explaining social interpretation mattered in business. She responded that competence mattered more. The discussion never escalated. They simply stood on opposite conclusions. At the event she wore dark trousers and a structured jacket. Guests stayed longer than usual. Conversations followed predictable patterns. Executives addressed Collins confidently, then hesitated when speaking to Natasha, unsure whether to treat her as partner or anomaly. She spoke only when asked technical questions and answered precisely enough to impress them despite discomfort. Collins maintained composure, but he noticed subtle reactions: curiosity, confusion, whispers. Reputation depended on consistency, and she refused to perform consistency. After the dinner he carefully explained perception risks again. Natasha listened without offense and simply asked whether the contract required personality changes. He admitted it did not. The topic ended there. That night he realized he could negotiate business deals easier than changing one determined person. She wasn't rebellious, just certain. Uncertainty could not be persuaded by approval. Weeks later a crisis surfaced inside Collins' company. A transport prototype failed stress simulations repeatedly, and investors demanded demonstration results soon. Engineers argued across conference tables without solution. Natasha happened to review the blueprints left open on his desk one evening while waiting for a delivery call. She studied quietly, then marked a small structural miscalculation affecting weight distribution. The next morning she left corrected calculations on his workspace without explanation. Collins initially assumed coincidence but forwarded the suggestion to his team. The adjustment worked instantly. The model stabilized, and the presentation succeeded. Investors praised Collins' leadership and foresight, unaware of the true source. He considered acknowledging her but remembered the contract: independence, no obligations. He simply thanked her briefly that night. Natasha shrugged off the gratitude and returned to her own designs. She didn't attend the celebration dinner and didn't ask for credit. For her, solving problems was normal. For Collins, it created an unfamiliar situation, someone supporting him without seeking advantage. He found himself noticing her presence more, not emotionally, but strategically, realizing the partnership functioned better than expected, even if the world didn't see it. As Collins' company gained attention, invitations increased. Formal gatherings, charity dinners, press photos, events where presentation mattered more than substance. Natasha attended as agreed, always dressed neatly but never traditionally elegant. She refused stylists and declined jewelry. Each appearance produced the same reactions: polite greetings followed by puzzled expressions. Some guests assumed she was an assistant who stood too close. Rumors spread quietly among executive spouses. They questioned Collins privately about his unconventional partner. He dismissed them professionally, yet the comments accumulated. Reputation, once steady, now required explanation. Investors never criticized directly, but their curiosity lingered longer than their handshakes. Collins maintained composure, though he began planning which events she should avoid. Natasha noticed the pattern, but never confronted him. One evening she simply said she would attend only necessary gatherings to reduce complications. Collins agreed faster than he intended. The decision made sense strategically, yet the apartment felt quieter afterward, efficient again, but less balanced. He told himself clarity improved focus, though he didn't fully believe it. Sarah Reed entered Collins' office through a mutual investor introduction. Elegant, articulate, and attentive, she spoke with effortless social confidence. Unlike Natasha, she understood conversational nuance perfectly. She complimented his company's direction, asked about his challenges, and listened as if every detail mattered deeply. Meetings with her felt smooth rather than analytical. She began appearing more frequently: lunches, strategy discussions, charity planning committees. Colleagues responded positively to her presence beside Collins. Photographs looked harmonious. Conversations flowed easily. She understood timing, laughter, and appearance in ways that strengthened his public image instantly. Collins found professional interaction simpler around her. Natasha noticed Sarah only through mentions in passing schedules. She expressed no concern and focused on her workshop. To her, the contract required coexistence, not emotional evaluation. But gradually Collins spent fewer evenings at the apartment. The partnership shifted from shared residence to shared address. Neither argued. Silence handled the change. Work hours stretched into nights for Collins, though not always inside the office. Sarah organized networking dinners and accompanied him to several events Natasha declined. The media began recognizing them together, assuming partnership. Collins never corrected the assumption. It simplified explanations. Conversations with Natasha reduced to calendar confirmations. At home, signs of separate lives grew clearer. Natasha's workbench expanded across one room while Collins' study remained locked most evenings. They passed occasionally in hallways with courteous nods. No hostility existed, only absence of overlap. The contract still functioned legally, but practically it faded. One late night Natasha placed signed documents on the dining table, a financial report proving she no longer required funding access. Her startup preparations were complete. She said calmly she could move out anytime if the arrangement complicated his reputation. Collins hesitated but gave no answer. The silence that followed felt heavier than disagreement. A week later Collins presented termination papers, citing incompatibility and public misunderstanding. His tone remained respectful and measured. Natasha read every line carefully, asked one clarification about legal timelines, then signed. There were no accusations and no negotiation. The contract ended exactly as logically as it began. She packed the same 2 duffel bags she arrived with, leaving the apartment spotless. Before leaving, she returned the apartment key and thanked him for honoring every agreed condition. Collins expected tension but encountered only composure. Her calm acceptance unsettled him more than anger would have. That night the penthouse returned to silent perfection. Collins reviewed emails while media outlets published photos of him and Sarah at an event. The situation appeared resolved, cleaner image, simpler narrative. Yet the apartment felt unusually large, as though something functional had been removed rather than personal. He dismissed the thought and focused on upcoming obligations. Natasha moved into a smaller industrial loft near the river docks, far from luxury towers and formal neighbors. The building housed artists, fabricators, and late-night thinkers who cared more about creation than status. She converted the main hall into a workshop, installing metal tables, testing rigs, and a suspended prototype frame. Her startup officially existed, a structural stability system designed to reduce mechanical failure in urban transport units. She worked alone at first, living between blueprints and coffee cups. Within weeks she recruited 2 people, Marcus Hale, a quiet software engineer fascinated by predictive modeling, and Olivia Chen, a practical financial planner who believed innovation deserved structure. They weren't impressed by appearances and never questioned Natasha's style. Together they tested designs at dawn inside abandoned test tracks rented cheaply from the city. Each successful simulation moved them closer to market readiness. Natasha never contacted Collins or followed news about him. Her focus narrowed to precision and progress. When the first working model ran perfectly without vibration loss, she didn't celebrate loudly. She simply leaned against the railing, watching the machine run steadily, stability she built with her own hands. For the first time her independence wasn't defensive. It was complete. Weeks later identical envelopes arrived across the city, embossed with silver lettering, invitations to the Whitmore Foundation Charity Gala, one of the most influential annual events in the business world. Investors, executives, and innovators were all listed among the guests. Collins received his copy during a meeting with Sarah, who immediately suggested they attend together publicly. Natasha received hers at the workshop. Olivia encouraged her to go, explaining investors would gather there. Natasha hesitated. Public events never interested her. But the foundation funded technological expansion projects, exactly what her company needed. She accepted quietly and returned to calibrating sensors, treating the gala as a business meeting rather than social performance. Neither knew the other had also been invited. The event planners simply compiled influential names from different sectors. Across the city preparations began, one focused on presentation, the other on opportunity, both paths unknowingly leading to the same night. Sarah treated the gala as a stage. She arranged fittings, photographers, and advance introductions, carefully shaping the narrative of her and Collins as a powerful pair. She advised him on conversation tones and social positioning, promising the evening would strengthen his standing permanently. Collins appreciated the clarity. Everything felt controlled again. Meanwhile Natasha faced an unfamiliar task, formal attire requirement. Olivia insisted investors expected at least minimal elegance. After long debate Natasha agreed to borrow a gown from a designer client Olivia knew. She chose the simplest one available, structured white silk, clean lines, no excessive decoration. She didn't practice posing or conversation. She simply planned her presentation points. The evening approached with different intentions. Collins prepared for recognition beside Sarah. Natasha prepared for negotiation alone. Neither expected surprise, only outcomes. The city lights brightened as the date arrived, unaware the event would rearrange more than reputations. The Whitmore Foundation ballroom shimmered beneath crystal chandeliers, conversations blending with soft orchestral music. Collins entered confidently with Sarah on his arm, cameras catching their synchronized smiles. Guests greeted them warmly. Sarah navigated introductions effortlessly, reinforcing the image of perfect alignment. Collins felt the evening progressing exactly as planned, controlled, predictable, successful. Then the entrance doors opened again. Conversations thinned into silence as a woman in a structured white gown stepped inside. Her posture remained calm, her expression composed, and recognition traveled slowly across the room before reaching Collins all at once. Natasha Benson, unmistakable yet transformed only by presentation, not personality. She walked without hesitation, acknowledging greetings politely but without performance. Attention followed her naturally. Collins forgot the conversation mid-sentence. Sarah noticed the shift immediately. Investors approached Natasha about her company introduction listed in the program, and she began discussing technical applications with quiet authority. The room's focus adjusted from appearances to substance. Collins stood still, processing the difference between memory and reality, not changed, just finally visible. While guests circled Natasha's presentation, Sarah excused herself to take a call near the terrace corridor. Her tone changed instantly, sharper, transactional. She discussed account transfers and upcoming signatures with someone unidentified. A staff coordinator overheard fragments and later mentioned unusual financial instructions to an event manager who recognized company affiliations. Inside, Collins attempted to resume networking but found conversations drifting toward Natasha's technology. Several investors referenced her previous quiet assistance in past projects, piecing together influence he never publicly acknowledged. He realized her reputation had grown independently, built purely on results. For the first time the narrative he controlled shifted beyond him. Meanwhile Natasha remained unaware of the tension forming elsewhere in the building. She demonstrated a small simulation model she carried in a compact case, explaining stability improvements clearly. Applause followed not because she sought attention, but because the explanation made immediate sense. Across the hall Sarah returned, expression restored, yet something in the evening no longer aligned with her expectations. An announcement interrupted the gathering. The Foundation's Innovation Committee wished to highlight emerging contributors. Unexpectedly, Natasha's company was called forward for demonstration review. She walked to the presentation area, placed the device on display, and activated a live stress test simulation projected across screens. The structure remained stable under conditions that normally caused failure. Investors surrounded the stage, discussing contracts and expansion possibilities in real time. Olivia and Marcus watched proudly from the side, confirming performance metrics. The demonstration shifted the event's purpose from social celebration to investment opportunity. Even guests unfamiliar with engineering understood its practical impact. Collins observed silently. He recognized the calculations. They resembled the correction that once saved his own project. The realization connected instantly. She had always operated beyond recognition. The difference tonight was visibility. Applause filled the hall again, not polite but genuine. Natasha stepped back from the display as attention intensified, remaining calm despite the magnitude. Near midnight, security quietly approached event coordinators regarding irregular banking activity connected to one attendee. The information traced toward Sarah's recent financial dealings involving multiple companies, including Collins. Discreet questioning began in a private office. Sarah attempted composure but inconsistencies emerged quickly. Collins was requested briefly away from the ballroom. Documents revealed transfers authorized through influence rather than permission. The pattern indicated manipulation rather than partnership. He processed each page carefully, understanding how easily confidence had replaced verification. Sarah's explanations weakened with each question. The situation remained contained to avoid public disturbance, yet consequences were clear. Sarah left the venue escorted calmly but firmly. Collins returned to the hall moments later, not embarrassed publicly, but altered privately. Across the room Natasha continued discussing contracts, unaware of the full extent of events unfolding beyond the doors. The gala gradually settled after midnight, conversations turning quieter. Collins stood near the balcony observing the city lights, replaying decisions leading to this night. Reputation once guided every choice, yet results now contradicted assumptions. He watched Natasha speaking with engineers rather than socialites, consistent with the person she had always been. He approached carefully, waiting until her discussion ended. She greeted him politely without discomfort. For a moment neither spoke about the past, only the technology and future markets. The absence of accusation felt heavier than conflict. He realized she had never tried to fit expectations because she never depended on them. As guests departed, he thanked her for past help he had never acknowledged. She accepted the words simply, neither forgiving nor condemning, just recognizing truth. The conversation ended respectfully, leaving clarity rather than reconciliation. Some partnerships end not with anger, but understanding gained too late. Weeks passed. Natasha's company signed development agreements, expanding into larger facilities. Marcus managed systems integration while Olivia negotiated funding structures. Their office buzzed with activity, machinery replacing empty space. Natasha spent more time mentoring new engineers than repairing equipment herself, shifting from builder to leader. Collins restructured his company carefully after financial setbacks. Without shortcuts, progress slowed but stabilized. He avoided public image strategies and focused on operational accuracy instead. The process was less glamorous yet more reliable. He learned verification mattered more than impression. They crossed paths once at a logistics conference, not as partners, not as strangers. Conversation remained professional, acknowledging mutual growth. Neither attempted to reopen the past. The respect between them finally matched reality rather than expectation. Spring arrived with clear skies over the river docks. Natasha stood on a platform overlooking the first fleet using her stabilization system successfully in operation. The machines moved smoothly across tracks, exactly as designed. Marcus recorded performance data while Olivia negotiated expansion overseas. The project had become larger than any single recognition moment. Elsewhere, Collins signed a modest but stable contract built on accurate projections. He no longer pursued admiration, only sustainability. The quieter success suited him better than prestige once had. Lessons learned remained permanent. That evening Natasha rode her rebuilt motorcycle across the bridge at sunset, the city reflecting gold across the water. She felt neither regret nor triumph, only certainty she had built her life honestly. Some endings closed doors, others opened directions. This one created space for both of them to continue forward, separate yet complete. As this story comes to an end, remember that behind every luxury lies a truth few ever see. If this story moved you, support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Until the next unforgettable true story, stay inspired and stay curious.